You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Valley Labor Report. My name is Jacob Morrison. Here with me, I've got the business manager for the Ironworkers, Local 92 out of Birmingham, Alabama. Bart Maddox is his name. Brother, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Jacob, I appreciate the invitation to come on. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So, like I said, you're the business manager of the Ironworkers, and kind of what I'm wanting to get out of everybody at the start is that, none of the folks that I have talked to this evening, we've been going since 4 o'clock. We're coming up on rounding out the third hour. None of the folks that I've talked to this evening are actually workers at Amazon, and yet they feel this kind of sense of urgency about the campaign, that they want to support these workers and they want to come out and do whatever they can to make sure that they succeed, even though ostensibly it's not going to directly impact them. None of these people are looking at getting a raise if Amazon unionizes. None of these people are looking at any kind of direct benefits. And so the same is true for you. Union members, we don't get commissions when other unions organize workplaces. Yeah. So why is it important for you? Why, you came out to the rally on Saturday. I'm sure you've offered support in whatever way the RWDSU would need. Why is it important for you to see them succeed? What is it for you that you makes you want to see them succeed?
We feel like everybody in America deserves a living wage. That's red, yellow, black, white, gay, lesbian, transgender, whoever you are. If you're an American, you have the right to earn a living wage, to live a comfortable life. And you have the right to work in a place that is not belittling or degrading. Every American worker deserves some integrity. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're hanging iron, if you're running wires, if you're welding pipe, if you're stuffing boxes, you have the right as a natural-born American to have representation, but to earn that living wage and to have a decent and safe place to work where people respect you.
Why do you what is it that made you kind of come to that conclusion? Because that's not the conclusion that a lot of folks around here kind of come to. And I can tell from your accent, you like me, we can't hide that we're from the South, but
yes,
a lot of our brothers and sisters down here, they don't reckon that everybody does deserve a minimum or a living wage. They don't reckon that everybody does deserve kind of a decent standard of living. They reckon that you ought to just kind of take what you're given and accept that. And you and I just kind of totally reject that, and I've got my reasons for it, but I'm interested in hearing yours.
Well, without big money, without big corporations, without people who have their dreams of building a company and making hundreds of millions of dollars, we wouldn't have jobs. So I am not against a company or an individual chasing down their dream and spending their money, risking their land, their homes, whatever it is to get that venture started. But they need to realize that without people being hands-on, without people performing their dream for them, then their dream's going to blow away like dust. And respecting the people that do that for you and taking care of those people that do that for you so that you have the opportunity to see your dream fulfilled. If you treat those people like dirt, without any respect, without any dignity, without paying them a fair wage, they're going to leave. And you're going to have a constant turnover But if a company can build that loyalty by respecting them, giving them a good living wage, some good conditions to work in, that company is only going to grow. You're going to get a quality worker that enjoys coming to work every day and that looks forward to coming to work and is happy when they leave work and feeling they've accomplished something. That's it for me, is that sense of accomplishment. When I was in the field for 31 years, I could look back at the end of every day and say, we hung 2 bays of iron today, or we laid 60 squares of decking today. And when you open your car door and look back at the job site and you see the progress, it gives you a sense of fulfillment, a sense of accomplishment. And when a worker in a factory goes home and says, hey, the maintenance guys kept my line running and I was able to meet my quotas today, and I feel good about that. And I packed people's Christmas presents. I packed little girls' birthday presents. I packed a 50th anniversary present for somebody. And, you know, that sense of accomplishment is well worth an extra $1 or $2, or an extra bathroom, or a break room. And if major corporations could realize those things, I think they would see a difference in their product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that completely makes sense. And, you know, you talked about how at the beginning of that, you know, it's all fine and good for folks to have their dreams and want to do the businesses and want to, you know, have some amount of risk, kind of, let's say. But you're not going to get that without workers. You know, like if Jeff Bezos, he literally did. He stepped down as CEO, and guess what? Amazon still running. If every single one of these workers at these facilities across the country and across the world, if they stepped down, you know, that's gonna cause a little bit more problem. So you know, you know, that's an important thing that for people to kind of realize when we're talking about like who deserves what, and is it right for them to, you know, make poor Jeff Bezos, you know, maybe make $1 billion less or something next year, you know, and for them to make a couple dollars an hour more. You know, I think it's really worth people understanding that, like, deep in their bones. Like, if, you know, Jeff Bezos did step down, Amazon's fine. There's no problem. If all the workers left tomorrow, you know, there's not going to be an Amazon. So, you know, Bart, I'm interested in how you came into the union and like what being a union member has meant to you. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, sir, I can. My grandfather was a union machinist at a cement plant in Leeds, Alabama. You know, you talked about with the earlier guest that the guy out in Nevada that's wanting to have his own town his way. You know, these plants, when they come to a town, they can almost take over. But Lehigh Cement in Leeds was a union plant, was a great place to work. My uncle followed in his footsteps, my Uncle Fred, whom I'm named after. He became a union machinist, and then he had to go into the Navy. So my dad had to quit school in the 6th grade and had to get a job and had to go to work. And he finally settled in to the ironworking career in 1958. And so he joined Local 92 in 1958, worked there for 42 years. And I always had food on my table. I had shoes on my feet, clothes on my back, heated in the winter, cooled in the summer. He was a good provider, and he was able to do that because he was in a good union and earned a fair wage and provided for his family. And I respected my dad for that. That really hit home with me that, you know, man, sometimes he was getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to drive to work, and sometimes he wouldn't get home till 9, 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes he'd have to travel out of state if work was slow in Alabama. But I had a tremendous amount of respect for my dad, and that's kind of what spurred me. Now, he told me, he said, son, if you become an iron worker, I will whoop your fanny. And so I kind of lied a little bit. I went to the state employment agency and I took their aptitude test and all that stuff. And then I told the lady, I said, hey, I hear the iron workers are hiring over at Local 92. So she sent me over there. And when I got home that afternoon and talked to my dad, I said, Dad, the state sent me over there.
Oh, man, that's good.
Yeah.
Well,
He still almost.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He really still wanted to give me a good whooping, but he didn't.
That's funny. Well, it's really interesting. I always enjoy hearing from folks who were kind of in the South, born into it, so to speak, because that's definitely not the norm for people to grow up in a union household in Alabama. But
Right.
my co-host is actually a third or fourth generation, like you, union worker. His grandmother was a president of a textile mill during the textile strikes in the Great Depression. So he's really got that history. That's in his blood. For me, I'm kind of a grafted in, so to speak.
Right.
But
You're still a brother.
that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm just as much a union brother to everybody else in the movement as David is, and that's something that's another kind of beautiful thing about the labor movement. What's it been like for you being an iron worker? Throughout your career, kind of having the union with you, being the union.
I as a very young iron worker, I was on a job, and we've all got our bad eggs, everybody does. And I had a foreman that wanted me to steal a tool. And he said, hey, roll that up in your coveralls and go put it in my truck. And I said, Joe, I don't think I can do that. And he said, yeah, you can. Roll that up and go put it in my truck. And so I refused. And my job steward, said, hey, look, you did the right thing. Now, you're probably going to get fired, but don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Just go on and do what you got to do. Well, sure enough, that afternoon, Joe had me a check and he had laid me off. And I went back to the hall the next morning, and the business manager said, hey, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be at work. And I said, well, I got fired. And he said, well, what'd you get fired for? And I said, well, because I wouldn't steal this tool. And about that time, the phone rang, and it was the job steward. And he talked to the business manager, and the business manager said, go get in your truck. I'm going to follow you back out to the job. And so I went back to the work location, and he pulled up right behind me, and the steward brought the foreman over there, and the business manager and the foreman walked off. And when he came back, he said, what are you standing here for? Get your belt on, go back to work. So he stood up for me for doing what I thought was the right thing. And I heard him tell that foreman, he said, if you ever ask any of my guys to do anything like that again, we're going to straighten it out the old-fashioned way. And the guy said, okay, I'm sorry. He came to me, he apologized, and he said, look, run on back up there where you were and start sticking bolts. So
that's
just that support, that he had my back, really meant a lot to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's really amazing. The kind of common narrative that especially the kind of corporate media wants to put out there is is right the opposite, that the union is going to be the ones trying to make you do dirty or to engage in like corrupt behavior. But and, you know, I mean, of course, like one of the things that I say on the show is that unions are human institutions, and human institutions, they have humans in them. And so, you know, there's going to be some amount of problems there, but that's of course not going to be, you know, they are going to be what you make them. And obviously that, you know, you've got a really good story there.
Hey, sir, I'm sorry. Am I back?
Yeah, I can see you. I can hear you.
Okay. One of those unexpected phone calls you get sometimes.
Oh, no worries at all. I was just saying that, you know, that's something that a lot of folks they try to make it seem like unions are going to be the ones to make you try to engage in corrupt behavior, and here you've got a story of, you know, right the opposite. The company's trying to get you to do something that you know is wrong, and that you would have had to do because of the inherently kind of coercive nature of the employer-employee relationship, had it not been for the union. Or you would have had to do it, or you would have been fired because you were fired, but because of your union, you weren't. Yes.
Steward and a good business manager.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. And I'm sure that you're carrying that kind of attitude and that spirit in your work as business manager for the Ironworkers Local 92. And so, you know, I appreciate your work, brother. I you know, it means a lot knowing there's folks out there like you know, doing the union name good.
Well, you know, treat people right and with respect, and stand up for them. There are some cases that we lose, you know, because the member was in the wrong, and being able to look at both sides of the issue, unbiased, but knowing that your main job is to represent your worker and do everything you can on his behalf. But like you say, we've got so many people out there thinking, well, you know, the union's going to run roughshod and they're going to protect their guy, even though he didn't show up for work 3 days, you know, the last 2 weeks, or he had alcohol on his breath, you know, for 2 days last week. You know, we try to get those guys help. We have employee assistance programs where they can go get rehab, marriage counseling, financial counseling, you know, to make sure that member is taken care of. And if there is an issue, make him aware of it, and or her, and that, look, you know, we want to help you through this, and we're here for you. Now then, yes, we lost this case, we lost this grievance, and here's why. This is why we lost, and this is what we need to do to correct this going forward. You know, so we help them in more ways than one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's something David talks about all the time, how, you know, we call each other brother and sister, and it ain't just, you know...
it's not just talk.
Yeah, we're not just multiplying words. You know, I mean, it means something to us.
Yes, sir.
So one thing that you said you wanted to talk about as we're wrapping it up is the Union Sportsman Alliance, and it sounds like y'all are doing a lot of stuff with them here in Birmingham. So if you want to, you know, talk about that and some of the things that y'all have been doing here and elsewhere with them.
Yeah, the 2 projects that they have done the last 2 years, they rebuilt the equestrian barn down at what is that park? Flip. Anyway, the old barn was about to fall down, so those guys got all the resources, all the material, you know, together. The unions came together. We went down, pulled the old barn down, rebuilt them a new equestrian barn. You know, the carpenters came in, did a great job making it look excellent on the inside. You know, electricians ran wires for the lights and stuff. The ironworkers, even though it was made out of wood, you know, we stood the structure up and helped put the roof and stuff on it, and gave those animals a decent place to get out of the weather. and families can now come down and rent the horses and go for rides and stuff. The last project we did was up at Smith Lake. We built a pavilion for the local high schools to come in and have their fishing tournaments. But not only the local high schools, the Lions Club, the Kiwanis Club, little hometown tournaments. Joe Smith goes down to the store and puts up a sign, "Hey, I'm hosting a fishing tournament," and he'll have 15, 20 boats, show up for the fishing tournament. And that's a place for them to get out of the weather. There's new scales, new electronic scales with big digital readouts. And, these high school kids see that and they think, man, we're in a real fishing tournament, and it gives them a sense of pride. So I did want to get a plug in for those guys. The next project we're going to do is up on Smith Lake again. It's boat ramps and stuff for handicaps. So everybody can get out onto the water and enjoy the lake. It's a great organization. They do a great job. And I wanted to give them a plug.
Yeah, that sounds like they're doing good work. And I know the Ironworkers up in Sheffield have been doing, I don't know that if it's with the Union Sportsman Alliance, but I know that they do a lot of community projects where they go out and they just do stuff for free. I mean, they built a whole bridge over there for free. The Ironworkers 477 up in Sheffield, and they're a sponsor of the show. And, we appreciate their support. And we've talked to their lead organizer and their business manager, Eddie Mitchell and Jeb Miles. I'm sure that you know them. Eddie,
very good guy. Yeah.
When I talked to Eddie, I don't know if you know this about him, but when I talked to Eddie on the show, he said that the first thing he tried to do was be a union millwright. And he said he went and he tried, and they told him, "You're not cut out for this. Maybe you can be an ironworker."
So, that hurts.
So they sent him to y'all.
Well, hey, we're glad to have him. He's worked out real good for us.
Yeah, it's their loss, right?
Right, exactly.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Hey, Jacob, thank you for having us on, and you guys are doing a great, great job. We appreciate y'all.
All right. Thanks, brother.